Sassy is ready.
See, the thing is, when you get a new dog, you have to retrain them. They have to get used to your routines. And she
Mhm.
doesn't know yet, hasn't figured out yet that 2:55, right before a live show, is not the time to ask to go potty.
Yeah, that is inconvenient.
Yeah, so we're going to have to work on that. So my apologies for us being late.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's cute.
yeah,
She's
maybe she might show up. We'll see if she comes back in here later. But yeah, she's a cutie. She is a cutie. Now, there is a funny story I want to tell before we get going on anything else. The derpy one, Violet, the new dog, uh, was making noise yesterday, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I finally turned around, and she had her ass up in the air, crouched down, tail going nuts, and she was looking up at the cat furniture
I could
where
get up there.
where
I could
Shadow
do it.
was. And Shadow had a one paw out like he was going to swat the dog. And then she ran over to the stairs. So he jumped off the cat furniture, ran over to the baby gate where they can play nya 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 nya, and did it again. And then they came back again. They did this three more times before finally she sprinted into the living room and Shadow jumped down from the cat furniture and scrambled after her like a goddamn cartoon.
We just go to play,
so they're
Dad.
getting along.
So all is apparently well in the Cooley household.
The derpy one has been accepted.
The dirt, well, if I don't know about accepted, but maybe originally acknowledged. I mean, this is a cat after all that
Oh,
we're
right,
talking about.
right. Acceptance is that's a, might not be the right word.
Sassy approves.
I'm glad Sassy approves. Howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Dead Robot Society. I am Paul E. Cooley, and that's Veronica Jaguar, and below me, as always, is Terry Mixon. Beneath me, below me. Really shouldn't say that. That leads to some rather yeah.
We had all the discussions last week. We're gonna try to
Did
be.
we? Man, I'm getting old. I forget one week to the next. I haven't listened to that episode yet. I'm afraid to because Gwyneth Paltrow might put in right back in my skull, and nobody needs that. Strangely enough, I was going to upload that episode today, but I ran out of space for this month, so it'll be the first episode. Don't, Brett, stop it. What else is going to get on besides cats and dogs and insanity? V, what the hell's up in your life?
Let's see. Recording, working, writing, still going back and forth between outlines and figuring out what to do. School is over here in Florida, at least in my corner of Florida. It always ends before Memorial Day, which is weird. Like I was used to starting school like close to Labor Day, and then going until like June, and ending like a week or two into June. And then as I got older, it was like the days kept creeping back, and now they start like the second week of August.
Yeah, I don't know about this changes. It's definitely like you. My school year was radically different than what's
Yeah.
going on now.
And granted, it's when you're a different area of the country. Like I don't deal with snow days, I deal with hurricane days, and so
Flooding and stuff like that.
It's like, we're sorry, the winds are too high. We cannot transport children across the causeway. Oh, well then. Guess we're closing the schools. So I understand starting earlier to make sure that there is time in the year to accommodate that kind of stuff. But it's still really weird that like it's going to be Memorial Day and there's no school after that. So
Then again, it never really made sense because you go off for Memorial Day, and then you come back for a week of school and finals, and then you're done again. It just seems always silly.
true.
They obviously need to go ahead and put this ginormous pneumatic tube system onto the causeway to shoot children across.
Oh, the lawsuits. Holy shit, the lawsuits. Wow.
Yeah, no.
Clean
No,
up on 2-3.
Considering that yeah, no.
The Phantom Tube shitter. Oh my God.
I mean,
another
really
thing.
need like the Disney gondola system where they're just like running back and forth, but that wouldn't help with the winds either because then you'd have its pollution. That would be really bad.
Okay, so it's part school transportation, other part amusement park ride. Got it.
Pretty
Well,
much.
Yeah, that
Got it.
Yeah.
They figure you'll be so exhausted and terrified by the time you get to school you won't have any energy left to fight, and you'll be a pliant sponge for all the information that's just gonna soak into you. Kids
Veronica,
bounce.
Florida. What information? So, but yeah, so
Don't get me started on school. It needs to go back to the Socratic method where people dress in robes and smack people with rulers and ask questions.
Nobody was getting smacked with rulers back in Greek times.
Probably true. They had sticks.
Yeah, I had sex.
Yes.
They were cudgels. Terry, let's get the term right.
Oh,
Cudgels.
you didn't beat the children with the cudgels. You had like a mini cudgel for beating
No, you
the
beat
children.
the slaves with the cudgel.
okay, we're gonna steer away from
She
Paul's
pulled us off
research
a whale.
area of expertise.
Just fly him in on dragons, or is that just whales?
That's just whales. That's,
Matt, do
yeah.
you have dragons? I've never been to Wales. Do they
Whales
have
is supposed to have dragons. I think they go and they snack on the sheep on the countryside. If you go and count your flock and you're missing a few, then the dragon had a snack.
Oh, interesting.
Looks like Tim finally showed back up.
Yay!
He finally posted bail. They kicked him out of wherever he was locked up. Welcome back, Tim.
I'm not really sure they should have done that, but okay.
We should go ahead and have a poll to see what people think he was arrested for.
Oh my lord, Terry!
This is how he does stuff. This is how he
Instigator.
Just
You are an
rumor
instigator.
monger. He needs to go work for the one of the tabloid rags in London. Well, this may have happened. May have happened. Well, it most certainly may have happened. Most certainly may have happened. Oh my God! If we're gonna write an article about this, it certainly may have happened.
Is you
So
gonna
you're saying-
chew my hand up, Miss Sassy Punch? Yes.
Nom. For those who are listening, Terry's hand is currently getting nommed by an extremely fluffy, lovable, sassy tabby cat.
Come here,
Um,
Sassy Cat.
So
There we go.
yeah, that's been just
Nom nom
recording and
nom nom.
adjusting to
Choo
schedules.
choo nom nom. Nom nom nom.
We're all watching the cat.
Maybe we should get to Terry. Terry, what the hell have you been up to besides getting nommed on by a cat?
This is the most important thing, being nommed on by Sassy. She loves me.
I said besides getting nommed on by a cat.
I've been working on getting the book I've got done finished before my deadline of next Saturday. It's going to be close, but I'm going to make it. But it's going to be a mad dash. Got to make it work.
I saw that you put in the blurb for a book in the Discord. So
Yeah, last week. Last week.
Is that last week?
That's from last week.
Oh. It says yesterday at 7:27 p.m. You must have edited something.
Let me look and see what it says because I don't remember.
You know, I'm prepared for this
Wait a
show,
minute,
and as usual.
it says 5:20. That's a week ago. What are you looking at?
In general,
Oh, I'm in live, so I don't know
That's
anything about
why.
that.
If you
I'm
look
looking
in,
in
if you look in the
general.
general, because you were listening to Lady Gaga while you were writing.
I posted a link to music. It wasn't a book. It was music.
no, your blurb.
Oh, I did post a blurb in there. Yeah.
Yes.
I said
Truth.
blurb. Did I
Sorry.
not?
You may have. I may have ignored you. I do that a lot. While this cat chews me.
Jesus Christ.
Nom nom nom. Chew chew claw claw claw.
So you've already got the blurb ready.
Well, that's for the next book. It's not for this book.
Oh, that's for the next book.
Yeah, I was asked for the blurb for the next book, the one that I have not yet written a single word on, which is always a challenge. Which is always a challenge, writing a blurb for a book as a discovery writer when you have not actually written the book.
That sounds like a problem
Well,
I have.
or a challenge.
That's how I sold the black. What are you talking about? How is that a problem? That's how I sold the black. That's how I sold the Derelict Saga. That's it.
one of the
I didn't
things
know
you
that-
do when you're writing a blurb is that you're not writing about what happens in the book. You're writing about something general in the themes of the book. So you're doing sales, but you don't want to get bogged down in an actual story of what's occurring. So I can write a blurb without actually saying what's happening in the book.
Right.
I have a general idea now that I've written the book that I've written, what's coming next book. There have been times where I put the blurb out for the next book, and I've had to tweak it a little bit because as I'm writing that book, things change, and suddenly part of what I wrote no longer makes sense. So this blurb is going to be put out with the pre-order, and I have time to make sure that it's right before it actually goes live, or before the book is available.
Oh, cool.
Somebody pointed out in this blurb that I use time a little bit too much in the last paragraph or two. And looking back at it, yeah, that word time is like three different instances of the word time. And so I could probably do something about that.
No. Brett says, ChatGPT, write me a blurb for Terry's book. No.
You know, there may come a time where that may work, but I don't think there's anywhere close to that. Something short like that may be inside ChatGPT's window of expertise. Now, if we want to dig into that, somebody wrote an article saying that in 10 years that AI could be doing things that only experts in the field could do nowadays. That's more terrifying to me.
Depends on the field and depends on the actual action you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the generalization's loses a lot of nuance. It's just basically, let's hype this. Let's hype this. Let's hype this. Crypto was a bust. We got to make money again. Let's hype this. Anyway, ignore the programmer. He obviously has no idea what he's talking about. Yeah, exactly.
So what have you been up to, Paul?
What? Oh my God. Dealing with stuff at day job, just kind of getting rolling again after, I started the job and then my mom's health took a nosedive. So I really just have not been doing much the last like 2 months. So I'm getting back into getting everything done. And then I've been recording. I got a couple of chapters done in Neptune Scars. Hopefully one of them, my voice isn't too weak. I'm sure the patrons will tell me. But I'm going to try and focus on getting more of those chapters done this week. And I'm supposed to hear back from my beta readers on June 1st for Neptune Scars. If I don't get any major complaints, then I will probably do another pass-through and ship it off to Severed. And kiss that book goodbye and then focus on getting the audiobook done.
Nice.
So, and while I try and figure out what the fuck it is I want to be when I grow up, because I'm staring at these two books and going, somebody brought to my attention that I'm less of a horror writer now and more of a sci-fi writer.
My little boy is growing up.
Shut up. I thought that was interesting because one of the books I'm writing right now is more in the supernatural suspense category, which I've missed. I have missed writing it because I get a chance to deal with people more than monsters. Even if there are monsters running around, I get to deal much more with people. So this is kind of a different book, and I want to get back to it and get back to writing it. But Proxima Ghosts keeps going, I'm here. You're supposed to be working on me so you can get me finished because Neptune Scars is going to come out, and then they're going to want the next one by first quarter of 2024. So what the fuck are you doing? You have to get that book done. So I think my brain is stuck. But also got to do some research for Track 9. There's a club that I'm basing a fictitious club on, and I need to go see if I can't wrangle a tour of the back of the building, so to speak, and get an insight into where the DJs go and the green room and things like that. Kind of get a behind the scenes look. It sounds stupid, like it's not a big deal. But if you think about it, if you're looking at the stage and what goes on behind it, and especially as somebody who's involved with the club, you kind of have to know those things to make it somewhat accurate, even though I'm changing the name of the club. It will be very close, though. But that's one of the things I want to – there's 2 nights I need to go to go check out and kind of get a feel for what it looks like now and then try and remember what it looks like or what it looked like back in the 90s. Because there's a lot of things going on in this book. So I think it might be me burying a certain portion of my life, but I'm having fun with it if I can just get back to writing it.
Well, how well known is the club?
In Houston, very well.
So there may be pictures or layouts or whatnot, because there, with the group that I'm writing with, the project we're working on is also set in the early 90s in Toronto. And we've had to pull a couple places that just don't exist anymore. You know, they were torn down and rebuilt in the mid 20 teens, but luckily one of the authors lives in Toronto and frequented a lot of those spots. And so between what he remembers and what we can dig up online through various blogs and photos and whatnot, so there might be stuff that you can piece together and go, okay, so
Jesus, Terry.
Goodness.
You blew into your mic, just blew our ears out.
Sorry, I yawned. I normally mute my mouth, but I didn't realize a yawn would come across that loud.
It's like Darth Vader having a hiccup. I don't know what the hell that was all about.
Good thing I didn't have a nice old belch.
Oh God, no, because the gain on that mic is severe. Anyway, I need to go back. I go to that club all the time for concerts. It's just a matter of I need to go back there sometime and take a look, because I have a feeling things have changed. But you're right about the old pictures. There's actually a documentary about the club, and the club in question is Numbers in Houston. Yeah, it's like my favorite concert venue of all time is that club. It's just perfect size, intimate shows, but not too intimate. You know, it's got decent bars. It's got a great smoking area, which I always find myself in at some point, even though I don't technically smoke anymore. But I just love that place. It's always got a great atmosphere to it. Just love it. But I need to write an homage to it, and it's a convenient one for track 9. So I'm going to do that. Brett says Numbers hasn't changed, let alone been clean since the 80s.
That's both disgusting and profound.
All right,
Wow.
I want to address this. Matt says, yeah, Neptune Scars, so far it's got the same feel as the first book of Derelict. You're going to cliffhanger it again, aren't you?
Yes. The answer
You're
is yes.
asking the president of the Cliffhangering Bastards Club if he's going to cliffhanger?
Now, wait a minute. Let me say this. I learned my lesson with the Derelict saga. This trilogy is called Gravity's Bane. It is not called the Gravity's Bane saga. The books are supposed to be able to be read independently, although they do overlap a bit because that's a necessity. So no, you are not going to get cliffhangered, except in the sense that you're going to know something else is going to happen and you're not going to see it happen in this book, because you can't see it happen yet. It hasn't happened yet. You just know it will. So no, you're not going to get cliffhangered. I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to do that again. Unless I can't help it. You know, if I get to 130,000 words, I got to cut the goddamn book off, regardless of where it is. It's getting ridiculous. This one's not going to get that big, I say. But I got to figure that out. So anyway, no, I'm making a promise. I'm not going to cliffhanger like I did with the Derelict saga.
Okay, timestamp that one. Paul Cooley has promised he is not going to cliffhanger.
Now, as I said, I will do my best to never do it again. You're going to be cliffhangered. Yeah. I almost got hanged after the last one. So you can read them independently. We have no choice. All right, smart ass. You know what I meant. They're designed so you can jump in the series at any point. It makes sense. But you will get references to things that happen in the other books. So that's just can't really help that. But I did figure out a way to avoid info dumps, which is basically every chapter, the first 10 chapters. No, the characters will ruminate on something that happened in the Derelict saga and what has happened since. And by that way, they kind of give a loose general feel and overview of where the book ended, as well as what happened during those books, without going into a massive info dump on this, that, and the other. I think it works. I hope it works. I can't in good conscience jump into a series in the middle, Brett says. I think most people have a problem with that, but there are some series like Dresden where you could pretty much pick up anywhere and kind of get a feel for it. I mean, the character doesn't change, only the situations change. It'd be just like hopping into a James Bond series in the middle, or Clive Cussler or whatever. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference.
That's actually not true.
Is it not?
After the events, I believe it was Cold Front, wherever, maybe it wasn't. It's the one where he dies before he comes back to life.
Ghost,
when he became the Winter Knight, things like that. Books from before are different than the books that come after, because some of the overriding major plot points influence what's coming after.
Okay, but you feel I'm right about the beginning of the series.
Yeah, in the beginning, it's certainly true.
So he reached a point where you can't. There is a point where you just cannot keep dragging along the baggage of the past. There's a point where some new shit's got to happen, or the series needs to die. In my humble opinion. So I'm sure Jim got bored of writing the same thing, but supposedly, if I remember correctly, didn't he have the series planned for 21 books?
I don't know.
Something like that.
I haven't read the last two because I just haven't gotten around to it. Too many things to do. And normally I would do that by listening to the audiobook, but I absolutely cannot stand the narration style. And that's fine. That's not a criticism of the narration style. It just doesn't work for me.
Either.
Is that James Marsters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't my thing either. And, life's too short, and I'll figure out, where and how I'm going to consume my media. I've been going back and trying to redo a bunch of my demos, which means going and reading stuff in the genres that I want to narrate in. I read really fast. As in, I burned through 3 novels in 2 days, including Imperial Recruit again. Sorry. I needed a good military sci-fi piece that I hadn't done. So,
gosh, I'm not sure that maybe half of Imperial Recruit is military sci-fi.
Yeah, and other pieces are not, but I found a nice little.
The portion for the little girls doesn't really fit into that, but the portions from the lieutenant do.
She's not that little in it.
She is 12. She is a child. She is a young child.
In the second book.
Oh, what was the first book? No, Spoils of War. You're right. You are correct. I forgot which book is which book. You're right.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is why when I narrate Terry's books, I go, wait a second, what about this?
This is why you need a
skimming.
This is why you need a goddamn story Bible. Holy shit. How long before you start forgetting the simplest things about the stories?
It's only been a year since I've written a book in that series, so I am not shocked.
Only been
I've still got to finish the Empire book that I'm writing before I can start writing the next book in the Imperial Marine saga. So there is that.
I was asking a friend of mine last night, how many books have I written? He says, I've forgotten how many books you've written. And I thought about it and was like, I can't keep track either. Do we count the ones that are awaiting publishing? Do we count, what do we count anymore?
Count the ones you hit the publish on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once you get over 15, does it really matter anymore?
Once you get over 10, you've made it. Once you get over 30, you forget how many you've done.
I think over 10, I forget how many.
Once you hit 40, you forget which book is which in which series.
That has happened more than once already to me when discussing The Black. I couldn't remember what something that happened in which book, and then couldn't remember the name of the book. It was kind of terrifying. Matt says James Marster was a singer as well as an actor. Wonder if that influenced his narration style.
Probably.
Don't know. Well, one thing I have been thinking about lately, and Terry, or actually V, brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to get to it. We didn't get to it last time because Gwyneth Paltrow's head got in the way of getting anything done last
I
week.
assure you it was not her head.
Anyway.
We're not going to revisit that. Look at last week's episode for extremely carnal conversations. And
there were no carnal conversations.
No, we talked about candles.
Oh,
we talked about candles.
This is true. The connotation is potentially
the
carnal.
Carnotation, really?
Is that a word? It should be a word. Carnotation. Are you mixing carnal with connotation?
No, that was me texting.
Oh, well then.
I said connotation. Jesus Christ.
Yes. So, anyway. As you were saying before you text us.
As I was saying. Business side of the shit that we do. The business side sucks. There's always trash you got to do.
It does. It doesn't take care of itself, and it should.
It should, but it doesn't. Now, I listened to the Advice for Paul episode.
Uh-oh.
I was editing things. And one thing y'all really didn't talk about more than I thought you would, because I thought we were going down that path, was the newsletter stuff. So, Veronica, let's talk about this newsletter stuff.
Oh, see, the reason I mentioned it when you were going, hey, what are you going to talk about, was because I am currently struggling with it. A lot.
Why are you struggling?
When you're someone who doesn't necessarily create their own content and you're a business-to-business provider, then give it 10 minutes, Matt.
Give it 2 minutes.
Give it 10 minutes.
Two.
Damn. Oh, but as a business to business provider, so anyone who offers a service like narration, editing, proofing, covers, what have you, you rely on other jobs, or you rely upon your gigs to help create content to tell people. Mm. And there's always the bit of, oh, well, but you should be authentic and tell people what's going on. I'm like, people really don't want to hear about me having to drive back and forth to pick up my children, the time that I'm spending in the bowling alley, or, baking whatever I'm, doing this week to keep my mind off the fact that I haven't made a newsletter. Yay, procrastination baking. Incidentally, it was chocolate chip cookies this week.
Pass that shit over here.
But that's the thing. I'm like, I could just, do the recipe for it. That would be kind of cool. And it would sort of fit with some of the stuff that I've recorded. But does that really work? It's the whole, you do the newsletter to be authentic. And then it's, well, who are you trying to target? Are you targeting other authors? Are you targeting your fans, your readers? Are you targeting people that you want to work with? And it's like, I've got to figure out how to put something together that's multi-purpose. And then there's the idea of, if you have a newsletter, what sort of freebies do you give to people? And again, I'm like, what do I give people? I haven't really written anything on my own that I'm comfortable putting out there for
public consumption
time. Yeah. And the thing is, it doesn't quite hit the genres that I wrote in, don't necessarily match what I can narrate. So it doesn't.
If you considered having two different newsletters, one for author stuff and one for business?
What I've considered is, so I follow Tammy Labreck of Newsletter Ninja, and she's been at 20 Books Vegas. She's a lovely person. I've run into her a couple times. There were a bunch of us who accidentally fangirled her in the ladies' room at 20 Books, and she was way cool about it.
That's creepy.
We're all the gerbil area. And it's like you hear somebody's voice or you see their face, and you're like, wait a second, I know that. And I just like, And I went, "Oh, you're Tam." He goes, "Yeah, I'm Tam." It's the either they're going to be really creeped out by going, "Hey, you're this person," or they're cool with it. And thank God she was cool with it. And I went, "I absolutely love your emails and your books are great. Thank you for putting this out there." And that was it. She's like, "Oh, or do you write?" "No, I narrate." "Oh, so but they work for you?" I'm like, "Yeah, most of the stuff that she puts out there works if you're a creative, if you're, you know, it's not just for authors." And one of the things that she suggests is to have your audience self-identify the sorts of messages they want to receive. So I'm like 70% there messing around with MailerLite and automations and asking people to self-identify. So are you an author? Are you a listener? Are you a fellow narrator? Are you a publisher? And having people, pick and choose based upon that. I've got tracks of where they can go, but I have to figure out what to give them, because you kind of want to give someone, you want to give people something. Yeah, a cookie, or what is, or there's another author.
It's a reader magnet is what you're talking about.
Well, in some cases it's a reader magnet, but a listener magnet.
Yeah, listener magnet.
And so I've got some work with that I'm slowly working on between other gigs. And for publishers, it's just pointing them to my demos and, reviews. And for authors, I have a packet. It's like a how to create audiobooks packet of what to do and like what to prepare and how to work with a narrator. So I go and I have that as a freebie. But I don't want to start newslettering until I have all of the pieces in place. So I need to get stuff recorded. And my initial newsletter only has like less than 30 subscribers. I have not been very good with it. So I kind of just need to do the scorched earth thing and start over.
Yeah, I'm kind of that point too. It's funny you mentioned this, because I was going to do all this and then realized I didn't have any money at that time.
MailerLite is free.
Right.
I'm using the free version.
I thought she said Miller Lite was free, and I was like, I'm not sure how that's going to help get you subscribers, but okay.
I don't know, man. There's some people who do a lot for a free 6-pack of Miller Lite. So I was looking at SendFox for doing what I wanted it to do, and it's sendfox.com. And MailerLite's another one. There's a ton of newsletter services out there. My main goal with that is to get something that hooks up with BookFunnel.
I use SendFox, and it is hooked up to BookFunnel.
I know.
I bought it when it was a Sumo deal, back when you could stack them and you could get away with it. So I actually have like 10 stacks that I bought on it. So I spent $500 on it to get those stacks, but I can have 50 some odd thousand subscribers if I ever choose to have so many.
Oh,
so I've growth myself out. I don't have to pay anything more. I do pay $10 a month because I want the full HTML editing, because I have not been able to make a Google document of my newsletter that is tweaked exactly the way I want it. That's probably me as opposed to Google Docs, but I don't like the way that some of the spacing works. So I like having it where I can do the HTML myself.
That makes sense.
Okay.
And it's after spending the money on the SendFox, you don't ever pay another penny if you don't choose to pay for the HTML editing. And having the other thing I get for having the $10 membership is I remove all of their branding off my emails.
Right. And that's the other thing, is being able to.
And it's worth it for that. That's worth it for me.
So basically, Terry has brought up the point that newsletters are extremely important, and he's able to build up rack up a shit ton of folks via that. And I get things, and I know he does too.
6,000 some odd people. I think the newsletter has not grown. My list has not grown very much over the last year because I'm not putting out my own stuff, so people don't see my newsletter link in the co-authored books.
Right.
Which
is a shame.
It is a shame. And that kind of
I would demand that byline.
Well, one of the things I was talking with some other narrators in a Facebook group about royalty share projects and things that you look for, like why you take one versus not another. And one of the things I pointed out is if you're going to pick up a royalty share project, have someone, ask, do they have a newsletter? What's their subscriber, base like? And are they willing to name drop you? Are they going to put down not just, hey, so and so narrated the book, but so and so narrated the book. Here's how you can sign up for their newsletter. Here's a link to all their socials so you can follow them.
Right.
Because ideally, in those cases, and for me, even if I'm not doing a royalty share, that's the word. Even if I'm not doing, sorry, words have been difficult. If I'm not doing a royalty share, I'm still going to elevate the person with whom I'm working so I can get more eyes and ears on their work. Just, it's good business. It's being a good human being too, but it's good business.
I dropped some links in the Discord live channel. There's an article from Kindlepreneur about prolific works, which I'd never even heard of, versus BookFunnel. It's kind of interesting.
BookFunnel, the people who run BookFunnel are good, informed, author-centric people.
Right.
And they're just, I was at a conference in St. Pete it was last September, and the guy who runs it, he was there, and he took the time to pretty much do a live demo. It wasn't scheduled. Little round table in a room that was ice cold because, oh my gosh, air conditioning. And there's like 12 authors crowded around him, and he is patiently answering questions, showing demos, answering every single, even like the where's the enter key kind of questions, and doing it calmly and politely and selling the product. And I mean, it's right there. You want to support a good small business, even though it's clearly successful. It's run by people who like authors. So,
well, I have to say we are not sponsored by any of these companies.
No, we're not. I just if someone's a good person, I'm going to talk about them and say, yeah.
I would love to be sponsored with some money by some of those people, but that's a totally different animal.
Anyway.
I would love the money. The thing is, I guess those are the two most popular services. I had never heard of Prolific Works until I saw this article. I don't even know if they're still a thing. This article's a year old.
Well, I know BookFunnel will do audio.
Yeah, they will do audio now. So there's a lot of different things. For me, it makes a lot more sense to go with them because of that very thing. Because I can put audio magnets of my stuff that I've narrated, like for the Derelict Saga, Gears Inferno, Ancient Trap when it comes out, stuff like that. So I want to go with what's going to give me the most versatility depending on what media it is I'm pushing. I mean, it's possible, although unlikely, that I may have subscribe only YouTube content at some point. So there's a lot of different things, and also they support private links.
Is this where you're going to roll out your OnlyFans account? Tell us this is the time.
No. Dude, I don't have time to strip and dance around for you people. I get paid more money to do other things. Nobody was subscribed to that channel, trust me. Uh-oh.
Anywhere on the internet, there's a kink. So there would be people that would subscribe. Is alive and well.
I want a 52-year-old gimpy bear. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Yeah, there's a channel for that.
If you have like artistic shaving of your back hair, maybe that could go ahead and draw people in like your magnet.
Look, I braid everything. I'll just let that go.
Everything?
Right there.
Everything?
I'll just let that go right there.
Okay.
And you have any idea how difficult it is to braid perianal hair? I mean, it's just...
I can't. I can't. I can't. My
Brett asks, when are my candles coming out?
No, it's full circle. Look at that. Oh my goodness.
Matt says, okay, Paul, I love your content, but even I have limits. Okay. We found the bottom of the show. It was found to happen. Here
Anytime
we
we know there's an opportunity to dive, have you noticed that it's Paul taking the dive first?
Head first
Yeah.
into the lichen encrusted concrete bottom. Yeah.
Diamond encrusted.
No, not diamond. Lichen.
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 Working class, more like. Michelle says, I try to batch my newsletters a few months ahead, so more fun for me to sit down for 2 to 3 hours and do it in one go. My coaching service for writers. Gotcha.
When I do my newsletters, I do it once a month on the first Tuesday of every month. And part of it is about what's going on in my life, the various things that are going on. Another part's what's going on with my writing. And then I have a cat picture and what's going on with the cats. And the cats are definitely a draw. Every month I say, send me pictures of your cats or your pets. And I'll get a dozen different pictures from various people of their pets.
Aww.
So that's one way to get some interaction. And having people respond to your newsletters gives it, I forget what Tammy calls it, but it's validity. Is there some type of validity that comes with it that says that it proves with the newsletter provider that this is real. This is real engagement.
Okay.
You blame me for this, but you brought up the OnlyFans.
That's true.
Brett
But
says.
he didn't have to go ahead and dive right straight to the perianal hair.
That says, just when you think I think we've hit the bottom of the barrel. Paul's answer, dude, hold my beer.
That wasn't beer he was asking you to hold.
Michelle says, a few years ago, she added pug photos, ending in the pug zone. People totally love that and look for it. Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, I haven't been putting out newsletter for the longest time because I just don't find anything ever interesting to say. It's just like I get writer's block when I try and share my life now. I don't know why, but I do. Probably because I don't see people very much. But it's like now I just sit there and I write down these anecdotes about the dog and the cats, and Shadow and I have imaginary conversations on Mastodon, things like that. And those are all things I can just basically lift off verbatim or take screenshots of, for crying out loud, or just put links in to the silly content like that. Like all the conversations I've had with Shadow that month, or all the things the derpy dog has done this week, whatever.
Oh no, I just had the perfect idea for you, Paul.
Oh God, I can't wait to hear this one.
In your newsletter, you need to have advice from Shadow, where Shadow gives answers to weird questions in a cat tone.
That is the first goddamn piece of advice you've given that might be worth a shit.
The shadow box.
There you go, the Shadow box.
Oh, then we
have a nice little picture of Shadow looking like he's judging everybody, and that's the lead into that.
Yeah, but then you got to have the other box, which is Violet's corner, and it's just her
and
face.
She could give home decorating tips.
It's just her face, and her entire article space below is just the word derp in all capitals in 26-point type.
Okay, that works too. Yeah, like Brett says, the Shadow knows.
That says, I appreciate a good newsletter that engages both business and personal aspects. It helps. Yeah. Like, I can call out what I'm working on, or, hey, we're getting closer to Ancient Trap released. If you're interested in getting it early, come subscribe to Patreon, or here's what the book's about, or drop some trailers, things like that. And then go talk about the Fiend Masters brood, stuff like that. It's a matter of me breaking through my shyness now. I know it's hard to believe, but I just don't want to share much of my life these days, apart from what I do here. So it's just trying to get back in the swing of making all that happen. And I guess maybe because things are picking up on the writing front as far as money goes, I'm feeling a little bit better about things and wanting to invest a little bit more time. Which is ironic because I should have been investing more time when the career was stalling, but let's not go there. That way lies madness and psychiatry bills.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You're talking about things going on in your life. I suspect I'm going to have to go ahead and spend the money to buy a newer car. My warning light came on for my anti-locking brake system. the part is no longer made and they can't find any. So no more anti-lock brakes for me, just the regular ones.
So fairly soon, you're going to run into the situation where you're going to have to go scouring junkyards to find parts.
The mechanic went ahead and looked in the various junkyards. He said they don't keep cars that are older than 10 years old anymore. They just have them. They have them crushed and they're done.
Wow! Holy shit!
So no luck for me. But I may have to end up spending some ludicrous amount of money to buy a newer car. I may just go ahead and save up and buy an actual new car if I'm going to have to go that far.
Don't even bother with buying a used car right now. You might as well go ahead and buy new for the price.
I have no idea how much a new car costs other than really damn expensive.
They start for a man your size and for what you need with your...
Whoa, wait a minute now. There's no wide load on this particular vehicle.
A man of your size compared to a man of Brent's size... For you to fit in a car comfortably, plush with your wife and her accessibility needs, I bet you're looking at 23 grand to 27 grand at the bottom, probably more like 32.
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to end up being $30,000 plus.
Yeah, and a lot of, well, I'd say some, but the car that I used to have that I absolutely loved is no longer being made, and so I had to switch out of it because repair issues. I mean, this was years ago, but now with my kids and they're getting to driving age, finding a decent used car that was affordable for my oldest, the only reason I think we were able to find it at the price that we did was because we went to the dealership that we've been going to for like 20 years. And they know my husband and they know his love of Mustangs and the fact that the man has never owned a car that wasn't a Mustang. Ever. Yeah. Sorry, his first car was not a Mustang. It was a 1990 Ford Tempo. And that's what I learned how to drive on. He learned how to drive stick on the first Mustang that he got as we were in Mississippi, and that was amusing.
I thought my wife was going to never stop crying when I had to teach her how to drive stick. I wasn't yelling at her or anything, but every time she made it grind, she just lost her shit.
Sadly, I've only had an automatic for a couple of years out of my entire 40 years plus of driving.
Well,
virtually all of it has been a stick. I would personally love to have something that's an automatic, and that's going to be definitely a criteria.
That's not going to be a problem.
No, almost all.
It will cost you more money.
Yeah, it's much harder to find a car that has manual transmission. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Anyway,
maybe I'll just go ahead and when I start producing the new Empire books, all the money I make off of those that I don't go to the IRS goes into the Terry Carr Fund.
Yeah, I'm basically using all the writing money to pay off debt at this point and trying to set aside a little bit for the new car, whatever that might be, whenever that might be.
It's going to end up being probably a small SUV or a van of some kind.
Crossover or something along those lines.
Something along those lines. I don't have a preference. I'll have to do research when I get closer to having that kind of money.
The one that I would recommend for you guys, especially with the accessibility issue, was what I used to have that they're no longer making. But it was marvelous because it was relatively efficient and was low to the ground and was easy to get into. It was, honest to goodness, TARDIS. I swear it was bigger on the inside. And it just, the first one I had, I ran it for like 96,000 miles.
What was it?
It was a Ford Flex.
I've seen some of those on the road.
They're awesome. I loved them. I had two. And we wound up switching out of the second one because it was starting to have issues and they were no longer making them. And we traded it in for an Explorer.
A Ford Exploder.
I like my car. I like my little mom-mobile.
Yeah, but you also think Sean Connery is a great actor, so we're just going to let that go.
I
just
do
gonna let
not.
that go. Look, I bring up Hunt for Red October, and you immediately start fangirling and
That's
fighting
because
against everything and
it's not
defending
because
Sean Connery's
it's
half-assed
not.
attempt at a Russian accent
I
by
do
way
not.
of
I
Wales.
do not defend that. Okay, I do not. Let's.
I want to know your opinion on how good Tim Curry's Russian accent was.
He didn't have one.
They didn't try.
Wasn't in the beginning? Weren't they doing Russian in the very beginning and then
No.
switched to
He was
English?
not one of
The
them that
only
speaks
one
Russian.
who attempted one was Sam Neill.
Yeah, and his
I
wasn't
would have
too
liked
bad.
to have seen the rabbits. And
Oh,
his
that
was
great.
his was just it was just good
It
enough.
was soft. It
It was
wasn't.
yeah.
It
was
wasn't
understated.
full bore.
It's how you're supposed to do an accent. Well, it's how I do accents for audiobooks. You find 2 or 3 little markers for the accent, and well, there's my need for brain bleach. Thank you. For those just listening, Matt said, Sean Connery, after seeing Zardoz, the man is a genius. Honest. Well,
Oh man.
genius in what? We're not sure. So, thanks. Thanks for that.
For various quantities of genius.
After watching The Rock and watching him in that, I preferred when I go back to thinking that's really 007 when he was disavowed and captured by the United States.
That entire, I know it's supposed to be like a suspense movie, but it is such it's a dumb buddy comedy with just really, really awful stakes because, Sean Connery plays the comedic role next to Nick Cage's straight man. And it's genius if you look at it as a comedy that just happens to involve
nerve agents to wipe out millions of people.
I'm a little tired, a little wired.
Who doesn't have that wish every day, especially the moment you step into rush hour traffic? Oh, Brett says Zardoz was actually underrated. John Borman film. Great concept, just bad costumes. I'm sorry, I just don't know if I can watch that with the dental floss and pouch. Just not really sure I could do it. He's just not an attractive man to me.
To drag ourselves back onto subject a little bit, I posted links to Tammy's books, both of them, in the live channel. I've read the first one and abided by most of it, but I haven't, even though I own the second one, I haven't gotten around to reading it. So I need to do that. There's a lot of things business-wise that I should be doing that I am not doing.
Yeah, that's kind of par for the course.
Like advertising. I should be advertising. I am not.
I need to be sending out a newsletter. I need to be posting more on social media.
Brett, I have never in my life worn dental floss and a pouch.
Having stayed in the same room with Paul for a week in Vegas, I can dispute that statement with absolute certainty.
The great thing is you lie so fucking much, nobody believes your bullshit anyway. The one time Paul comes out with a pouch of dental floss is like, Paul did this. No, he didn't. You're lying. You're lying.
You know that everything he just said really confirms what I just said because now he's undermined his entire argument.
You're not helping, Brett. You're not helping.
I got nothing.
So I wanted to bring all that stuff up. So since we talked about it in pre-show or pre-show on Discord, since we hadn't gotten over to newsletters, there's a lot of different stuff out there to help you kind of get nice layout and stuff like that. Get some decent graphics or headshots of yourself or whatever it is you're trying to hawk. Maybe it's just a cover of your book, who the hell knows. But getting that stuff together, spending a little time on it. And of course, I'm a big old ass hypocrite because I haven't done it. It's just something that has to change this weekend, as a matter of fact. So that's just another business thing that you kind of have to get going. And if you're starting out, it'd probably be a good thing to get in the habit of doing it early. Because if nothing else, the readers that you get that sign up, you want to keep those folks.
Yeah, I started with book 1 that I wrote, Empire of Bones, and had the newsletter link in there, so it's grown from that 6,000 people over the course of publishing each of the books. Every time I publish a new book that has the links in the front or the back of the book, they would go up. Another thing that you can do that you couldn't do before is if you go to your Amazon Author Central page under reports and marketing, you can now see how many Amazon followers you have. Whereas before you could not do that.
I was not aware of
that. I had no idea that I had 10.9 thousand Amazon followers, which you could tag your newsletter saying, hey, go to this link and click follow, because then they'll get notifications of your book straight from Amazon.
Oh, that's helpful. Brett, you said you hate really old headshots, just seems weird. Headshots are expensive. I am still trying to find, because I know I need to update my headshot that I have. And it is well over 10 years old.
They do them at 20 books.
It's not a... I do not mean this. I don't mean it to sound snobby. I really don't. It's not an actor headshot.
Okay, I buy that.
I need actor headshots. So.
Oh yeah, you do actually, don't you?
Yeah, because
yeah,
it's one of those things where I'm starting to look at, well, do I need to branch out beyond audiobooks? And do I look at anything that's also voice? Do I try and do something that is print or camera? And I go, ooh. So, no, me and my soccer mom face. So, but trying to budget for headshots is, and trying to find someone.
How much does a headshot setup cost?
It depends on where you are. I know people
$75 to $2,000. What do you want?
Yeah.
Do you want a Polaroid camera, or do you want somebody with a DSLR-X or whatever the fuck it is, Photoshop and all that shit?
And do they have an eye? Are they going to help you stage things? Is there going to be a location away from your office? Are you going to do it at your house? Are you going to set your own stuff up? So it's involved. I'll stick, for now, I know it might be old, but I'll stick with that cruise ship photo that I used, because I have been working the hell out of it for years.
Yeah, I need to get mine done. I really do. Really need to get a new one done as well. Matt, you lucky bastard. Matt says the advantage of having a wife who's a photographer, and then when you spend hours on end letting her try different lighting and lenses for effect, maybe paying cash is better.
I don't know. I lucked out that I married my IT support. So I've got to fix my website and update this and do that and carve out time. I literally came home from running errands and he's like, oh, I mirrored the site, did this, troubleshot that, and upgraded that. Oh, and hey, everything's secure. I fixed your SSL certificates. Oh, thank you. You're the reason why I made cookies, because, it seemed fair.
So I had up there, Tim said that I need to address the idea that my career appears to have developed like clockwork after publishing Empire Bones. I would disagree with that sentiment, because I don't know that it's developed like clockwork. It has grown with each book, but it's had its ups and downs going that way. Nothing is as smooth as it looks from the outside. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, and you can be on a great climb in something, and then you plateau, and you're just like, we're waiting. This is where I am right now. I'm waiting. I've hit over, if we include all of the podcast novels that I've recorded, I am over 100 recorded audiobooks.
Fuck.
Yeah. And I am at a plateau because I have only put out one this year. And so I'm just like, okay, I guess so that's why it's like, work on the newsletters, work on the demos, focus on writing, focus on these other things. And, it's not fun, but if you can get through stuff stagnating and make use of the time when you can sit and learn, sit and learn.
Yeah.
Although I'd rather be working.
Well, with that idea in mind, it's time for us to draw this to a close so we can get ready for our paying customers, paying subscribers, paying viewers, listeners.
I've got
whatever.
6 sleeping cats scattered around my room. Nobody's awake.
If you'd like to talk to us about Carrie's sleeping cats, newsletters, or other filth that comes out of our mouths, you can send an email to show@devrobotssociety.com. You can find me on Mastodon, Paul_E_Cooley at VYRSE.social. You can find us on Facebook, the listeners of the Dev Robot Society Facebook group, where no, I'm not doing OnlyFans, where Terry Mixon wrangles all the madness. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our mugs and so many cats. So way too damn many cats. And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us at I was doing so well. You can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast and buymeacoffee.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive episodes like DRS After Dark, which is coming up in 7 minutes. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are Tony L. Joy, Lisa Slack, Isabel Kushi, and Tim Niederreiter. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible and helping us pay our bills. And with that, we have one more thing we have to do, which is to raise our cups of coffee in salute to the magnificent beans sold at corpsecoffee.com. Visit corpsecoffee.com. Check out their boutique teas, their wonderful array of coffees, a wonderfully weird webcomic, and tell them DRS sent you. Visit corpsecoffee.com and get the dead in your cup. You know, at some point, I need to have somebody 3D print me like a bendable skeleton with legs so it can just like be plopping out of my cup. Something like that.
I bet you could find a you know how they have like the loose tea holders where they perch on the side of.
Yeah.
I bet there's a skeleton one.
You're probably right. Well, that we are going to get the hell out of here. Thank you for spending the afternoon with us, and we hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend. And if you serve, thank you so much for your service, and to all the families as well. And with that, we are getting the fuck out of here. Have a great weekend. We're out.